Institutes of the Christian Religion continued, Book 1, Chapter 16, looking now at sections 5 through 7, as Calvin will give both some general explanation of the application of the providence of God, and then in 7, a couple of particular examples as well. So Calvin generally begins by saying, okay, we understand from Scripture, as we see the natural ordering of the world, that the particularities of day and night, of seasons, of rain, are a display of the providence of God, generally speaking, in the created order. And it displays what? His wisdom, his goodness, his favor, his justice, those particular elements of his character. The rain falls on the just and the unjust alike. Now, as we think of providence generally, we can begin humanly, curiously, to ask the question, how small are we talking here? What events are falling within the realm of God's providence? Is it just big events that seem discernibly more important to us, or is it smaller events? Jesus answers this in Matthew 10. Not a sparrow can fall to the ground without the will of my Father in heaven, Jesus says, Matthew 10:29. So is it particularly applied? Yes, it is. It is very particularly applied. Same with the sparrows as with the hair on my head that is definitely falling out, but not without the will of my Father in heaven. We see this in a general way, specifically applied to the nature and volition of man. We could look at Jesus' example, and if you were being overly critical about it, you could say, okay, well, that's talking about his care and governance over wildlife, not man. Man's different. Man has his own free will and nature and volition. Okay, we'll read Jeremiah chapter 10, verse, 23. O Lord, I know that the way of man is not in himself. It is not in man that walks to direct his steps. That's pretty pointed. Man's goings are not of the Lord. Man's goings, are of the Lord. How can a man then understand his own way? Proverbs 20:24. It is unsettling for us to read passages like that, but it is humbling and sanctifying, because it forces us to realize a fundamental truth displayed in Scripture and in the experience of the world, if we're being honest. I come to a passage like that, I survey my own life, and I realize, yes, I have will and agency and choices, but I'm a creature, and I'm not God. And the power of the creature is limited, hedged in, determined by nature, subject to change. God is infinite, almighty, unchanging. He does whatsoever he pleases. He takes nobody else's counsel. He makes decisions on his own, and they're the best that he would do it without outside influence and counsel. There is, and I hope you see as you read through Calvin, this beautiful, awe-inspiring, and if we're honest, somewhat terrifying and humbling and fear-inducing to understand this huge chasm that exists between the nature, power, and limitations of God, which is to say there's no limitations on God, and the power, nature, and limitations on the creature that he's made. So continuing on, he gives other examples from Exodus 21, Proverbs 29, Psalm 75, that even promotions in the world come not from west, nor east, nor south, but God is the judge. He puts down one, and he setteth up or raiseth up another. We see this particularly in narrative of Scripture, where the particular people in those historical accounts give credence to understanding that God is in control of both big and little things. Genesis 32, the words of Jacob to Rachel. The setup there, although Calvin doesn't get it, is that Leah has been producing offspring with Jacob for quite some time now, and Rachel is barren She wants a child, she wants a son, she wants a daughter, she wants something, but it's not happening for her, and she is unsettled by this, and she gets angry at Jacob. And what does Jacob say back to her in Genesis 30? Am I in God's place, who has withheld from thee the fruit of the womb? What's that an acknowledgement of? Jacob gets it. Jacob gets the providence of God. Opening and closing the womb is not within his power. It's part of the providence of God, displaying his wisdom, his favor, and his goodness as he deems fit over his creatures. Well, I hope that was a benefit. Thank you for listening.